Even if it's morning or afternoon, it is that kind of a week. It is officially morning, at least here on the East Coast. Good morning, everyone. And I am here super excited. If you don't know Theresa Caragol, you are in for a treat today. We're going to be talking about partner engagement, how to build great relationships with your clients, with your community. And she is a master at this. So before we get into the content, Theresa, can you introduce yourself? Tell people a little bit about you and your organization.
Sure. I'm Theresa Caragol, been in the tech industry a long time, ran divisions of big tech companies, and then started my own company about 7 years ago, Achieve Unite, all around partnering. And our premise is every company, especially in this post-COVID era of social and digital, every company has to partner to be successul. And we believe that's your clients, that's your partners, that's your vendors, and there's a DNA of doing it. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
I love it. It's so funny. So when we first met each other, I think it was probably 8 months ago, not at all ironically, through a relationship. Someone's like,
Yep.
you need to know Theresa, or somebody said, Theresa, you need to know Jennifer. Like, I don't even know. And we
Right.
got on the phone and we clicked, got on a Zoom and we clicked, and I'm like, you need to come to my event. And so it's very meta because we're talking about partnerships, but that's how you and I got connected.
It's
So
so true. And we have matching shirts on today,
we have
too,
matching
which is
shirts, and that's
so
just like,
coordinated and planned.
yes, didn't plan that at all. I love it. And so it's funny to me. It's just a little bit ironic because at my first event last year,
Mhm.
we talked a lot about relationships and
Mhm.
collaboration. And I don't think I
Mhm.
used the word partnership or partner, but those are very tightly joined.
Mhm. 100%.
So when you say partner and everybody needs to partner together post COVID
Mhm.
and partner with your
Mhm.
clients, partner with your community, can you just kind of define that a little
What
bit
that
for us?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, we set out on a journey. There was a lot around trust, but there wasn't a lot of research around partnering trust. And we have seen that higher levels of collaboration lead to more productivity, faster success, faster time to revenue, all of these things. But there's not a lot out there on it. And so we set out to work with Arizona State, Notre Dame, and the University of Glasgow, and 3 years later have a psychometric assessment that measures how you build partnering trust. And anyway, fast forward, we're going to be talking about all of that when we're together, because what we're finding is if you can speed that up, you can speed up revenue. If you can speed up collaboration, you can eliminate conflict. There's just all of these benefits. And yeah, it's super exciting, and we're just having a great time.
I love it. Okay, so if you are just joining us, we're talking to Theresa Caragol. I got it. I got it.
Oh, see
Yes.
that picture right there. My father is from Barcelona, Spain. He's the oldest of nine, and my grandmother was a Busquet and the Caragols. So the Caragols and the Busquets are quite well known in Barcelona. So
I love it. And
yeah.
Therese is going to be speaking at my event coming up in Orlando in June. Tickets are moving. If you don't have your ticket yet, please get one soon. The room is going to be full. mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate. Now, one thing that I picked up on, because I am a lifelong learner of all things related to marketing and sales, is use the word trust. So there is a lot of conversation around know, like, and trust. And you've got to build know,
Mhm.
like, and trust in your
Mhm.
marketing, but really you should be doing that in your sales as well. But what you're
Mhm.
saying is that that can't just be like a marketing thing that somebody else does, but that it almost needs to be part of your company's DNA, and that you can speed up the time to trust. So I'm curious by that, because anything that I can do to kind of hack success, I am all over it. So can you talk a little bit about that? How can we speed up trust?
So there's speeding up of trust at the individual level, which is this research called PQI that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be having a whole lot of fun when we're together on developing our partnering trust muscles. So we speak about there are 5 profiles, and people are going to learn their profile, and they're going to learn how they can develop all 5 of these muscles, because the best trust builders are actually muscular in all 5 of these, or we call it the journey to wholeness, but I kind of like the muscles
Huh,
analogy. So
interesting.
we need to become whole in how we do that. So that's at the individual level. And then you're exactly right. Companies must build, no matter small or large, you have to build this DNA of partnering and this culture of partnering. And we actually have a science to that as well. And so we're not going to talk about that as much at your conference, but that is equally as important is how do you as an organization, your communications, your experience with your vendors or your partners, your experience with your clients, how do you build this culture of partnering across your organization?
I love it. And so, okay, I have a couple of questions. I want to talk about learning that skill, and is that a learnable skill? But before, let me show the information about the event one more time. If you're just joining us, we're talking all about partnering and partnership and building that trust, that know, like, and trust that we talk about. How do you build that? How do you build it
Mhm.
faster? And Theresa was saying it's really like a muscle, and we're going to be unpacking this in a pretty good amount of depth at my event. So if you don't have a ticket yet, get your ticket. Tomorrow we are going to raise the rates because we are announcing our last speaker, our keynote. I cannot wait. So excited. That's all I'm saying. A little bit out of the box. Okay, I said a little bit more, but so excited. Cannot wait to introduce that speaker to you. So if you don't have your ticket yet, get it today. Otherwise, tomorrow the prices go up. mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate. It is the ultimate IT growth conference. And one of the things that makes it unusual is that it's very workshop oriented, and
Mhm.
Theresa is bringing the PQI index or PQI methodology to us, and normally this is a day or two of training,
Mhm.
and so she's going to be unpacking this and showing us how we can create trust in our community. And so I know last year when we talked about collaboration, we talked about creating relationships in your community with
Mhm.
the movers and shakers, which then in turn makes you a mover and shaker, makes you a thought leader.
Yeah.
Some people were uncomfortable with it. You talked about it being a muscle, this trust
Mhm.
muscle. It isn't something that comes naturally to everyone.
Mhm.
Whether
Mhm.
you say I'm an introvert or I'm a tech geek or I just like hiding in my office. So, what would your advice be to those people who are like, oh, this isn't really something that comes naturally to me?
Even more reason to lean in to understanding yourself. And also, people are calling this the 5 love languages of business because it's that powerful. And the more you understand, the more you go, wow, Jennifer's an energizer. She leads with this. How do I build trust with an energizer? Oh, you know what? So and so is a strategizer. I need to change my dialogue. I need to
Wait, what was
interact
that?
with
A strong viper?
strategizer.
Oh, a strategizer. I thought you said a
Another one of the
strong viper.
profiles. Yes. So
Interesting.
it really sits on top of some of these other personality assessments that kind of type who you are. This one is really around here's where you're starting from. How do you lean in and develop your other muscles, develop your journey so that you can become, relatively strong in 3 or 4 of those, and then recognize where maybe you're not going to be strong. I have one of those, my Achilles heel, and how do you mitigate that and how do you work around that? So it's been a fantastic tool. I'm super proud of what's happening in organizations and with teams and with some companies are doing it with their clients. It's really fascinating what's beginning to happen.
Interesting. Okay, so I want to park on the 5 personality types. I'm hoping you'll tell us what all 5 of those are. But if you're just joining us, we're talking to Theresa. She's going to be at my event in June 13, 14 in Orlando. This is about 150 people in the room. So we keep it small on purpose because it encourages some very transparent conversations and we are able to really make some dynamic changes in your business. So if you are an MSP or an MSSP and you're around the $1 million mark and up, this is the event for you. Yes, we're talking about marketing. Yes, we're talking about sales, but you can tell from this conversation where we're talking about building community, building trust,
Mhm.
building partnerships, that it's a lot deeper than your typical surface-y show that is
Mhm.
rinsing and repeating the same old ideas that we could practically all teach. And so that is not what this is. You don't need the same old ideas. we're living in a very new paradigm. We're in the midst of what is probably it's definitely an economic downturn.
Yeah,
And so the time is not, this is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to just go back to business as usual. This is the time to expand your thinking, to expand your actions, to try new things. And so,
absolutely.
Theresa, you're talking about the PQI index. Tell me the
Correct.
P stands for personality.
It stands for Partnering Quotient Index. So
Okay,
the science
so
of partnering trust. And look, I'm an entrepreneur just like your audience. I started my company from scratch 7 years ago, and we have built an amazing business. And we all know intellectual property is really important. And so we'll talk about how our journey came to be as well and how we built this.
okay, so you talked about kind of knowing this concept of the five love languages, almost of
Mhm.
knowing what your personality is. So give me those five, and I want to park on there for just a couple minutes.
Oh, sure. So we have the energizers, the strategizers, the exemplars, the collaborators, and the harmonizers.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
human nature says that we are all five of these at different points. And we need to recognize who we are and how we build partnering trust. And then we need to recognize that in others. And then we need to build our teams with a balanced approach of, we were working with a client and his entire team was strategizers and energizers, and they had no harmonizers, collaborators, and exemplars. And everybody brings something different to the team. So we have to balance out our teams as well.
Okay, so I can guess what an energizer is. I can guess what a strategizer is. I think I know what collaborator is. Harmonizer is probably the one that pulls all the pieces together and gets things done. What is the exemplar?
Oh, the exemplars are, in fact, the creator of this curriculum and often professors you see as exemplars. They're very high quality, high principled, high achieving. It has to be done right before it goes out the door. Engineers are often exemplars. We see different career types as different trust building qualities as well. And so, yeah. Go
So
ahead.
do you recommend, so let's say that I recognize myself in one of those, and I recognize that I have a weakness in a particular area, whatever type it is. Should I focus on making my stronger type even stronger, or should I focus on that weaker type and strengthening that muscle? What's your
We
typical?
always advocate you focusing on the strength, the highest
Okay.
strength, and continuing to deepen that, right? Because that often is where your superpower is. And so a superpower wants to keep becoming and growing as a superpower. However, we do want to build on the others. And, sometimes I chose to work on my lowest one more to neutralize it and then to activate another one that was in the middle. Sometimes, depending on your scoring, sometimes you might choose to really look at a couple of low ones. So we have a science to how we do that with the teams, and it also depends on what your team needs. Your team. We were working with another client, and they had no collaborators and harmonizers, and they were in the middle of a big integration, a big M&A, and they needed to activate those skills. So
Mm.
several of the team decided to develop their number two skill, which was that. And fast forward 6 months later, actually turn that into a number one skill. So, and we give you the ability to test and retest, and we give you the ability to do a 360. So Jennifer can tell me how she perceives me, and we do that as a trust building. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Okay, so let's talk practically. So we've got a lot of theory. So we understand the theory that we are we're all of the five types. We have a primary type, and then we have probably one or two that are less dominant or less strong.
Correct.
So after someone goes through this process, perhaps does some self work to make the stronger ones even stronger, or maybe improves the secondary one or ones. practically, how does that then play out in like a day in the life of a business owner or the day in the life of an executive? And
Mhm.
I'm going to caveat this with like the people that are coming to this event are typically smaller teams. So
Mhm.
3 to 12 employees, 3 to 20 employees, that kind of a range. So we're not talking massive organizations, not talking tremendous org chart sizes. So what does this look like practically?
So what it looks like practically is that it's really important that I was just with an executive and she said it was a game changer for her team because they began to understand each other at a whole nother level. Their conflict has been reduced. Oftentimes they get into hard situations and they say, oh, you're activating your strategizer and I'm speaking to you in this. So it becomes a language to build trust. So it's really, really important for the owners of companies to understand that across their organization and to figure out where they have gaps, because the most successful teams are even in having all of these muscles in their own organization. And then they need to recognize it in their clients and understand how their clients build relations or their prospects. Because that's,
Interesting.
if we want to be relevant, we need to speak the language of who we're working with. And so it becomes, and we teach in that in workshop 2 and workshop 3, we really teach about how do you do that in a business setting and how do you accelerate that with your clients and your prospects.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about conflict in a minute, but real quickly, let me drop this information about the event again. So Theresa is coming to my event, the Ultimate IT Growth Conference, and we're going to be talking about these personality types, how to develop partnerships. We're going to talk about how to speed up the time to trust. So kind of a little bit of a hack. We all know we need to be building know, like, and trust. This is specifically around trust. And how do we build that even faster? So, if you are an MSP or an MSSP and you are looking to grow your company, this is a key piece of the puzzle. This is not necessarily a marketing strategy, but when you reduce conflict, you can execute faster. When you improve communication skills, you can execute faster. Not as much misunderstanding or lack of understanding or tension in the workplace. So,
Mhm.
of course, we're going to be talking about marketing and sales as well, but this feels a little bit tertiary or tangential, but it's very, very integrated in your ability to execute well and quickly. So if that is appealing to you, if you're looking to execute well, if you're looking to grow your business even faster, come to this event. Tickets are on sale. They are going quickly. We are going to sell out. So go to mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate because it's the Ultimate IT Growth Conference. And so, Theresa, we've talked a little bit about conflict, and obviously, you've got multiple personality types, and anytime that happens, you've got some that naturally create relationships easily and naturally collaborate, and then you also have some that naturally repel each other, almost like a magnet. So can we talk about kind of pairing these up? So we have an energizer, a strategist, an exemplar.
We can talk about, I'll give you one perfect example. Once my husband did this and I did this, we realized why we have conflict, because we speak, the energizers and the exemplars are quite opposite
I
in
thought
how they
maybe,
build
yes.
trusted relationships.
Okay.
And so where you start to see conflict, you start to realize the gaps of trust building. Strategizers and energizers sometimes have conflict. You see, harmonizers are some of the folks that can eliminate very easily some of the conflict, collaborators as well. But anyway, each one of them has strengths, and then we
Sure.
have blind spots. And we don't call them weaknesses, we call them blind spots, because we believe when you shed a light on a blind spot, you automatically start to develop the beginning of that muscle, right? You automatically start to become conscious of it so that you start to look at it in your own, in yourself or in others.
It's fascinating. I may want my husband to take this as well because I think I am an energizer and I think he's an exemplar. And so
Yeah,
I can see how, if you've got me like, let's go, we're gonna like
that's
conquer the
right.
world. And then he's like, but we need a SOP and we need a plan. And yes, we can conquer the world, but it can't be today because we need a
Right.
strategy and we need so I can see how that could create tension if you're not
Yeah.
aware of what the other person's personality is. And then by shining a light on it, you've got an awareness where hopefully the exciting people can dial it down just a little bit and
Yeah.
respect why someone might want to go a little bit slower. A million
Yeah.
miles an hour might not be the best option
That's
all
right.
the time.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
fascinating, fascinating.
It is. It's amazing. And what we're seeing is we're starting to have enough data to look at men and women and differences in genders and differences in ages and differences in um, different career choices. So, over the next year, we'll be able to share more and more of that as
Okay,
we
so
go.
I'm going to ask this question, and please feel free to say that's not public knowledge yet. I can't talk about it. But as you were talking about gender and
Mhm.
choice of career, we are seeing obviously in the IT space not very many women, and it's actually trending the wrong direction. I was just looking at some
Mhm.
research yesterday that it is trending downward. That we're attracting fewer women,
Yeah.
which is the exact opposite of what we want. And so do you feel like the PQI has any
Well,
um
it's interesting. It wasn't developed for that, but I was with a woman who they are having those issues in their company. They're having issues at the senior level of the organization, and they're bringing PQI in because it is a really good way to safe way to create a common language to build to accelerate trust. And you do have very differences between the way men and women sometimes build trust, between the ages build trust, cultural backgrounds build trust. So it gives us all a common language. By the way, this works across the world. We've done it across 75 different countries. We've had participants across the globe participate in the workshops, and they all resonate, and it works every time. So it's really
fascinating?
exciting. And the professors told us our academic research was extremely rigorous. It actually took 1,000 different surveys with over 500 questions, and the partners had to complete it in order for it to be statistically valid and reliable, or we had to throw that out in order to get to this 50 question survey that we have now. So it is very, very rigorous in the science of what we built.
Okay, so obviously you've got your roots in the tech industry, but what
Yeah.
other industries have you tested the methodology in?
This
That's
came
fascinating.
through, and this was actually a gift because we brought the tech industry to the table and many amazing tech companies and their partners, but the universities brought education. We have nonprofit, we have manufacturing, we have healthcare, we have all of these other industries who also participated, which increased the reliability and the validity of the research, and they also participated across the globe. So yes, it was a gift. That was all a gift, and I would love to say that was 100% intentional, but it has really paid off for the quality and the caliber of what we're doing now.
So I some feedback that I got at last year's event was people got 100% on board with forming collaborative relationships and building those partnerships and finding people
Mhm.
in their industry or in their geography to collaborate with,
Mhm.
but that so many people didn't get it. So the people that attended the event embraced it wholeheartedly, and then they went back and they're like, "I'm looking for people to collaborate with. You
Mhm.
probably get this. I get this. I'm looking for to collaborate with you, Teresa." And you say, "What does that look like?" And the other person says,
Right.
"Well, I want you to refer business to me." So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
how do you do you encourage people once they've been through this process to bring other people alongside and say, "Listen, go work
Yeah.
with Teresa"? Like
Right.
how do they share this concept?
They can share the concept individually. We really encourage them to go through the workshops and the programs. In fact, we're seeing people starting to use this as a marketing initiative, and they're starting to use it with their clients. They're starting to use it in their alliance meetings. So it's becoming a tool in the tool bag. And then we also encourage the 360 trust building, which is, hey, Jen, I definitely want us to work together, but I'd love for you to give me some feedback on my style and how your experience working with me. Would you do my PQI 360? And you have an app on your phone, and you can activate that, and they can give you feedback right there. It takes just a few minutes, and it's a real trust building initiative, not those 360s that go to your manager and the manager tells you. This is all designed around trust building for you with others.
I love it. All right, so we've got people saying, okay, they're listening to two brilliant women, which is always nice to
Oh,
hear. Thanks,
hi,
Debbie.
Debbie. We love Debbie. She's fabulous.
I love it. Okay, so this is super exciting to me. We're obviously we've got two women on here. Half of the speakers at this event are going to be women. That
Awesome.
was an accident. I'm thrilled that I've got that many powerful women in my circle of influence, and that people introduced me to. And the keynote speaker is also a woman. That's all. I'm not going to give away too much. That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow. Um, but Theresa is going to come and unpack these concepts at my event. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about the PQI. I always say index, even though that's a little,
What?
it is
Perfect.
redundant. But we're talking about how to create partnerships, how to create trust. We talk a lot in marketing and in sales, know, like, and trust. Well, how do you create trust? How do you measure that? How can you create trust faster? And a lot of it is understanding the person you're speaking to, the person you're working with. And so we're talking about the concept of partnership and understanding that partnership needs to happen inside of your organization across your org chart, but it's also partnering with people in your community. It's
Mhm.
creating partnerships with your clients. And so one thing we've parked
And
on
your
here,
vendors,
and your
we'll spend some time
vendors.
talking about these qualities in the vendors and what we
Oh,
need to be doing with the
we're going to
vendors.
talk about vendors in a minute. I want to park there actually. So before we get there, if you are joining us and you're an MSP that is around the $1 million mark, or you're serious about getting to 1 million this year, up to about 5-6 million, this event is for you. This is all around growth and strategy to get you to that next level. Obviously, what we're talking about here is a little bit outside of the box. This is not what you're hearing at various events and shows around the channel. This event is unique and it is different on purpose. There's a strategy behind that. So if you don't have your ticket, get it very, very soon, because we are going to sell out, and I cannot squeeze a single extra chair in this event. I've already had two conversations with the event space, and they're like, there's no way to do this. The fire marshal could come in and shut us down. So the room is going to be very nicely full. Get your ticket, mspsalesrevolution.com/ultimate. So we're talking about building partnerships in your company, with your client, with collaborating with people in your geography. And then you said vendors, building partnerships with vendors. Now, that's tricky because you've got a 10-person company trying to build a relationship with a 200 or 2000 person organization.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
talk to me, what do you mean when you say build relationships with vendors?
It's interesting. I remember, for those of us that have been doing this a long time, I remember where there was a hierarchy, and it was a very linear hierarchy. And you might have been Cisco or Microsoft, and you worked with a distributor, and the distributor worked with a partner, and the partner did what the vendor told them to do. And that was the way of the world, right? Well, flip that upside down and circle it 5 times and add 18 other ingredients to it. And it's nothing like that anymore. And frankly, the MSPs who are doing it right have a lot more power and influence in this. And we need to help broker that back into the vendor community. And we need to accelerate that trust with them. And frankly, we need to pick the right vendors. And so, there's a whole play around PQI and how do we do trust building with the vendor community, and how do we recognize where there's gaps.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Debbie's saying this is such a game changer for empowering different ecosystem partners to optimize how they work together, healthy, successful,
Mhm.
meaningful way. Which is
Exactly.
which probably goes to underscore your point about selecting the correct vendors.
Yes.
Because if the vendor isn't looking for a healthy, successful, meaningful relationship, and they're looking at you, the MSP, as a number,
Or a transaction or a
yes.
deal, in the long run, that's probably not your best partnerships. You might have some of those, but how do you really segment your partner base and understand the DNA of partnering that the vendors have, and make sure that you've chosen the right kinds of vendors as your partners?
Yes. Yeah, very, very good point. Which I
Mhm.
I imagine there is a art and a science to creating and somehow finding that out during your conversations with potential vendor partners.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And if folks are interested, we can certainly talk about that in the workshop as well.
I love it. I love it. Guys, you are hearing this. This is going to be an amazing piece of the event. Theresa, I think you're at the end of day one.
Right.
I'll triple check that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And you said you may be sharing even some worksheets and some workbook pages with the audience so that they're walking away. This is a lot to wrap your head around. It's a different way of looking at business, this is perfect timing because we are at a very pivotal time where we do need to start looking at business a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Clients and prospects are going to be tightening their belts. Perhaps they see IT and cybersecurity as maybe they're shifting from necessary evil to maybe it's expendable, and we can shorten our our budgets, shrink our budgets a little bit. And so all of this is going to present a very different way for you to look at speaking to your prospects and
Yes.
forming relationships with those prospects. This is very, very closely tied to relationship based selling and relationship based marketing. So if you're listening to this and you're an MSP who's around $1 million in revenue up to about 5 million, get your ticket. You've got the URL on the screen. And I have had a couple of people reach out to me and ask me directly, usually via email, like, okay, I'm not quite at that $1 million mark, but I'm bound and determined to get there. Like that is my focus. That's my vision. Should I come? Is the content good for me? The answer is yes, you should come. The content is good for you. There will be some startups in the room. There will be some companies in the room that have 200K in annual revenue. And so while the topics are really geared towards the slightly larger companies in our niche,
Mhm.
why not expose yourself to the
Yeah.
thinking and the strategy of the larger companies? And you can certainly adopt those even when you're small. So even though we're gearing all of the content to that $1 million and up, if you're like, I'm 200K, I'm 400K, I'm 600K, I'm just getting started, should I come? You can. Just understand that you're going to be exposed to some concepts that may blow your mind, that may force you to step outside your box just a little bit, but that is where growth happens. That is where the opportunity is. So get your
I
ticket.
wish that I had had forums like this when I started my company and
Me
came up
too.
through from 0 to a million to 2 million, and 2 million to 3. I think it's amazing. And I would just encourage people to join you because there's something about interacting with your peers and people that are experiencing the same things that you're experiencing, even if you're at different phases. And that's where a lot of the learning is.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
And that's why we keep it as small as we do,
that's great.
150 people in the room, so that you can have honest and transparent conversations.
Yes.
Every person in the room, MSP or sponsor or speaker, we all have business challenges. That is the nature of business. Like there is no perfect business. And
Mhm,
so you
mhm.
are going to be able to help people in the room. You're going to be able to get help from people in the room. It's a very, very collaborative conversation. The sponsors are in the room playing along with the workshops and playing
Right.
along with some of the collaborative things that we have planned. We're doing things slightly differently this year. I've got a very fun objection handling workshop, and it is not a lecture, it is a guided workshop. And then that's going to be a lot of fun, where we're going to take the work product and then redistribute it to everybody that's in the room collaborating. So it's ironic that we're talking about that today. We're talking about partnerships, which is closely tied to collaboration.
Mhm.
And we've talked about personality types and why we need to build trust. Man, we've got AI here. I was going to say AI
Mhm.
coming. It's not coming. It's here.
It's here, yes.
And so I think that is going to create a natural distrust for the messages that are being said. And is this even Jennifer in a video, or is it
Yeah.
Jennifer's robot twin? Like there's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of distrust happening in the marketplace. So any thoughts on how this is so out of the box? So I'm putting you on the spot, and I apologize. But any thoughts that you have as we're going into this AI driven world, and that is going to create a natural distrust? How can we use the concepts inside of PQI and inside of your workshops to build that trust in our audience, specifically inside of our marketing?
Yeah, our PQI app actually has AI built into it so that as you develop your muscles in these different profiles, it automatically pushes videos and learning on different aspects of leadership and partnering and these skills so you can develop. And we do it all automatically, and you have options to request what you want, and everything gets pushed to you every day. New content and new videos and new learning. So we use AI. It's embedded. I think it's going to be the way of the world. And I think there's opportunities for you as MSPs to leverage AI in your different functions of your organization and also with your clients. Imagine if you were able to offer your clients a PQI service and start to do this as an MSP offering. And so that's what we're working towards as well.
Yeah, what a unique differentiator. We are actually talking about that. I think it may be right before your session that we're talking about some unique differentiators. So that may open up some minds like, okay, this is so out of the box that most MSPs are not offering this. But we talk about kind of systems integration used to be the way everybody did things, but this really does embed you into the organization, and then it helps you understand, how do I talk to them? Should I dial down my natural personality because it's going to get on the nerves of someone I'm talking to, and they're a key influencer or a decision maker? So
that's exactly right.
Lots of direct impacts on how you build those relationships with your clients as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so much good stuff. All right, let me throw this up here one more time. Guys, if you don't have your ticket yet, you're hearing just a little taste of what you're going to get at this event. This is for MSPs and MSSPs, those of you that are flirting with $1 million up to maybe $5 million in revenue. And we're talking marketing, we're talking sales, of course. But Theresa and I have been chatting a little bit about partnering and how to build that partner trust community and how to demonstrate that trust and build that trust muscle so that it's not just this ethereal concept of know, like, and trust, but really drilling into the trust component. So get your event ticket. There's going to be 150 people in the room in Orlando. It's a fantastic event, chance to collaborate, push your business to the next level, and find out what is working now in the community. So go to
MS. The date of your event.
It is June 13 and 14.
June 13 and 14.
Yep, it's in Orlando, and it's at it's the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts. And so if you are picturing like a dark community theater, get that out of your mind. It's gorgeous. Our room has glass on 3 sides. They have a 5-star chef on site. I mean, you have never been to an event like this. It is fantastic.
Wow, fabulous. Great job.
Thank you. Awesome. It is a labor of love. We love doing it, love serving the community. It's really exciting to see the actions that took place as a result of last year's event. I still have people emailing me almost every week saying, I'm still using your decision-making matrix. And we actually may do it again this year because it's so crucial to have a framework around how do I make business decisions? How do I get out of overwhelm? How do I know what to prioritize? So we may be able to squeeze that in again. But this event is actually changing the way people are doing business, which is part of why I wanted to bring you in. So real quickly, share how people can reach out to you before the event on June 13 and 14.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning about PQI, you can email me, THERESA@achieveunite.com. You can request at achieveunite.com. We actually have 2 leadership programs that we offer for partners and vendors alike. We have peer groups coming up in the next 3 weeks, both the Leadership by Influence and Leading Through Complexity, which has PQI embedded. So would love to support you and support your teams.
Amazing. Theresa, I cannot wait to see you in June. We may see each other before then as well. But thank you for your time. I so appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you.